This is a developing financial story that could potentially reshape the lives of millions of people across the globe. As we enter the second half of 2025, the international currency markets are experiencing movements that have not been seen in decades, and two currencies in particular are at the center of the discussion: the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. For years, both have been the subject of speculation, policy shifts, and economic reforms, but the developments in recent weeks have given renewed weight to the idea that something historic could be underway. The Iraqi dinar, once a strong and respected currency before decades of conflict, sanctions, and economic instability, has been quietly strengthening behind the scenes. The government of Iraq, with significant backing from international partners, has been implementing reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy, increasing foreign reserves, and modernizing its financial system. These changes, though gradual, have created the conditions for what analysts describe as a potentially significant revaluation in the near future. For investors and ordinary citizens alike, the implications could be life-changing if the value of the dinar were to shift dramatically against the US dollar and other major currencies. In parallel, the Vietnamese dong has been steadily gaining quiet attention in global financial discussions. Vietnam's rapid economic growth, rising exports, and increasing integration into global supply chains have strengthened its macroeconomic position. The government's focus on attracting foreign investment and modernizing infrastructure has made Vietnam one of Asia's fastest-growing economies. The currency, historically undervalued according to some analysts, is seen by certain market observers as having the potential for upward adjustment should Vietnam choose to align its currency more closely with its economic fundamentals. What makes the current moment so compelling is the convergence of political will, economic readiness, and market positioning. In Iraq, the central bank has been conducting a series of monetary policy adjustments, including measures to control inflation, stabilize the exchange rate, and tighten the regulation of currency exchanges. At the same time, there have been visible efforts to improve relations with international financial institutions, such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, both of which have a stake in seeing Iraq's economy stabilize. Vietnam, meanwhile, is in a very different but equally important position. Its economic model is built on export-led growth, and the country has been benefiting from companies shifting manufacturing out of China into Vietnam to diversify supply chains. With stronger trade relationships with the United States, the European Union, and regional partners, Vietnam's balance of payments has been robust. If the government were to adjust the currency upward, it could not only reflect its economic strength, but also reshape the purchasing power of its citizens and the value of investments held by those who have been accumulating dong. The conversations happening now among currency market watchers center on timing and magnitude. Could both the dinar and the dong move significantly in 2025? The possibility exists, but it's important to emphasize that much of this remains in the realm of speculation until official policy decisions are announced. Currency revaluations of this scale do not happen without careful coordination, and governments must weigh the benefits against the potential disruption to trade, investment flows, and inflation. Still, for those holding these currencies, the stakes are deeply personal. There are individuals and groups who have accumulated substantial amounts of Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong over the years in anticipation of a major revaluation. For some, this has been a long-term strategy driven by faith in eventual economic recovery. For others, it has been a speculative gamble, a bet on the possibility of an extraordinary windfall. The reason this story has such an emotional pull is simple: the financial upside, if it materializes, could be transformative. A person holding millions of dinar or dong could, in the event of a revaluation, see the value of their holdings multiply overnight. At the same time, seasoned financial experts caution against overexcitement. History shows that currency reforms can take many forms, and not all result in sudden wealth creation. Sometimes governments opt for gradual adjustments, redenominations, or policy changes that do not match public expectations. This is why it is critical to separate confirmed developments from market rumors. In Iraq's case, confirmed reforms such as increasing gold reserves, enhancing anti-money laundering measures, and digitizing payment systems are real and measurable steps. These lend credibility to the idea that the government is preparing for a more stable and internationally integrated currency. Vietnam's confirmed progress includes its rising GDP growth rate, expanding trade surplus, and increasing foreign direct investment inflows. These are tangible indicators of a currency that could eventually be stronger than its current rate suggests. However, the Vietnamese government has traditionally maintained a cautious approach to currency appreciation to keep its export industries competitive. Whether that policy changes in 2025 will depend on domestic economic conditions and global market pressures. The urgency in the tone of market discussions right now comes from a cluster of recent developments. In Iraq, senior officials have made public statements about the importance of aligning the dinar with its true market value. There have also been reports of behind-the-scenes consultations with international financial advisors. In Vietnam, trade negotiations and foreign investment agreements are being signed at an accelerated pace, suggesting the government is positioning itself for a more prominent role in global markets. For those tracking these events closely, the message is clear. The window for positioning oneself ahead of potential changes may be narrowing. That does not mean action should be taken without careful thought, but it does mean that 2025 could be a year in which these two currencies make headlines in ways they have not in decades. The idea that the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong could change lives is not just about speculation or dreams of sudden wealth. It's also about the broader economic story: nations rebuilding, economies growing, and currencies finding their place in the global system. If Iraq's reforms succeed, they could usher in a period of stability and prosperity that would benefit not just investors, but the Iraqi people, many of whom have endured decades of hardship. If Vietnam's currency strengthens, it could raise the standard of living for millions while also reshaping its role in regional trade. However, it's important to remember that currency markets are influenced by an intricate web of factors, from geopolitical tensions to interest rate changes in the United States. An unexpected development, whether positive or negative, can shift market sentiment overnight. This is why experts advise those following the dinar and dong story to stay informed through credible sources, verify all information, and maintain realistic expectations. Right now, the sense in the financial world is that both Iraq and Vietnam are standing at economic crossroads. The decisions made in the coming months could define the trajectory of their currencies for years to come. The dinar could see a sharp revaluation if policy alignment, foreign reserve strength, and global market acceptance converge at the right moment. The dong could appreciate steadily if Vietnam decides the time has come to let its currency reflect its growing economic clout. For the average person, the potential life-changing impact comes down to scale. A substantial increase in either currency's value could translate into a surge in personal wealth for those holding it. But beyond personal finances, such moves could reshape investment strategies, alter trade balances, and shift the economic weight of entire regions. As we continue to monitor this situation, one thing remains certain: